Hello faithful viewers and welcome back to another Transformers review. This time the figure that we are looking at is the first movie deluxe class Recon Barricade. Now I don't know really what the backstory behind this paint scheme of the figure is. I don't think it's to do with the Allspark Powers subline, because I don't recall his packaging being decoed out and all of that fancy stuff, and he doesn't, despite the colour scheme here primarily being this nice silver and blue, I don't think he has any of the like aqua turquoise light blue kind of thing that the Allspark Powers subline had. So I think it's just a random repaint that Hasbro put on their shelves in order to sell more figures and to not make him a potential shelf warmer. The Barricade here turns into a Celine 2781 police cruiser according to the wiki, and it's an okay figure. I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with this thing, because back in the day I used to kind of despise the heck out of it. And the reason for it is mainly due to the transformation. It's not a difficult thing at all, but it's really the same reason why I have a falling out with the Last Night Berserker figure, where for me, panels don't seem to want to clip together properly. At least that used to be the case with this one. Now, I've got the gist of it, and I'm in a good place with this figure. But whether that will influence my recommendation at the end of the video, you'll have to stay tuned for. But as I said, Barricade here, he's a cop car, and as you can see, his primary colour is silver with some nice blue along the side. You can see there is an epic Decepticon logo there, that's really cool, and a good security text above it. There is a story regarding the license plate number here, but you'd have to look on the TF wiki to find out. I'm just going to plug them, because why not? Nice red tail lights going on there. Exact same stuff on the other side. He does have the "to punish and enslave" text on the back there, which he is quite infamous for. Clear windows, translucent plastic. There is no interior moulding per se, although you could mistake those bits there for seats if you do so please. In actuality, they're just the back of his legs. But yeah, that is kind of it. On the underside, it's slightly obvious as to what will turn into what. If you have a good eye, you can make out there the legs. They will be the arms if you know the character model, but everything else that's up this end is hidden quite well, so kudos to that. So that's the vehicle mode really. He rolls very, very, very well. It's nice to actually have a figure that does roll quite good. You have obviously the blue lights up top, some nice detailing of a bonnet, but we'll get to the gimmick of this figure. You can pull out the chest here, this little blue bit slides out, you can pull it out, and this is Frenzy. He doesn't turn into a cassette player, unfortunately. I don't know what you would call this, if you would even call it anything, but he just unfolds. And it's pretty neat to have a little Frenzy figure. There's not much to him, it's just this blue plastic. He does have some, I wanted to say some white detailing on his chest. It's kind of like a lighter shade of blue. He looks good for what he is. He's just a small little figure. It's just nice. Articulation wise, he's got that, he's got that, and he's got that, and that's kind of it. But yeah, cool stuff. I'm going to fold him away. Not much to say about him really. Shove him back in, close that up to seal him in. And that's Barricade's cop car mode. So to transform him, it is very easy. Very, very, very easy. And I don't think he has any automorph on him, which is a surprise considering he's a first movie figure. Right, the first thing you want to be doing is disconnecting the side of the car. I'm just pulling it away. So start at the back, untab all of that, and then come to the front wheels. Untab them by hinging them down ever so slightly and pull all of that out, and just be careful of that arm. It's a gimmick thing, we'll get to it in a little bit. Same thing on the other side, just pull it all out and hinge it up and away. Then we're going to come to the back of the vehicle, so we're just going to untab it from there and there and hinge everything down. I'm going to pull up just so you can see. We're going to hinge everything and then just tab the lower torso into the underside of the car like that. It is at a bit of an angle and it's just making me wonder if I've got it correctly. But I do believe I do. because I don't think it's going to go in any other way. You can see the tabs on the other side there. So he rests at an angle. It's a bit of a weird angle, but hey-ho. Now, the feet are a little bit weird. Well, let's say the feet, it's the legs, really, because Barricade is a Decepticon, so it's got chicken legs. So fold down the feet, like that. And then it's about the number of ratchet clicks, so you want to have his legs situated at. So I'm going to pull them up around about 2. I'm going to pull them up, or down rather, about 2, and then maybe add a third onto that original one, just to kind of get them into a semblance of a good stature. This might have to be altered a little bit later. I'm going to flip up these feet spikes while I'm down here, and I'm going to split his legs, and then I'm going to hoist them up and into their correct position. Now you can see it's going to be very front heavy for the time being, but we will deal with that as best we can. We're going to bend his arms down and around into position and just make sure that I am focused as best as I can be. We're going to come to the back, fold down the roof of the car. We are going to come to the bonnet and open it up, and then push his head up and through, and then reseal it under the black panel where his neck would be. And then just to finish off the arms, we are going to lift the thumbs up, we are going to lift the fingers up at an angle, just so all of this is broken up a little bit more. We can bend him at the elbow, and then we want to be taking these bits and rotating them around for a bit more of a movie accurate look. That is something that I always forgot to do in my youth, but it's something that you should do, and I've just activated the gimmick there. That's annoying. Oh, that's annoying. Right, this is one of my bugbears about the figure. I'll get to it in a little bit. Just attach that back in. I'm going to rotate them like that, and then we're just going to attempt to stand him as best we can. So yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to have to alter the ratchet clicks on his legs. It's just a case of playing with him until you can get him into a good standing. Okay, that kind of works. Yeah, that works. I somehow got him. So, there we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. There we have our first movie, Barricade, in his wonky-ass robot mode. I mean, to an extent, it's good, but it's not aged well. It's really not aged well. So, looking at this guy in greater detail, he is very blocky, and the first movie figures, certainly some of them, were very blocky, like Jazz, for instance, Ironhide, Ratchet. They are just girthy and kind of bricky. There are some exceptions. Bumblebee, for instance, I'll bring him out in a little while for a comparison. He's better. He's a good figure. Bludgeon, who we looked at previously in his wreckage form. Not in the review, but the wreckage was who he was in the first film. That's a good figure. But yeah, Barricade, he's special in a way. He's good for detail, at least. I mean, if we look at that head sculpt, without losing our light too much, that's a good head sculpt. And despite the silver eyes, that looks to be, to me, light piping. So we'll try and show that off as best we can without knocking him over. It's okay. Yeah, you can see that. So yeah, there's some good detailing on his face, his chest. We can't quite get the whole crumpled chest aesthetic that he has in the film, unfortunately, just due to the limitations of the mould and the time, the engineering. Hasbro couldn't create something like that. They have since, or at least they've attempted to. But this is a good enough effort for what it is. Nice detailing around the crotch area. The legs, lovely shade of blue and black all along them. I like the attention to detail of the feet spikes as well. It's something that they didn't have to put in, but I'm glad they did. The hands are... they're very weird, aren't they? I mean... well, okay, he doesn't stand very well. As you can kind of guess, he's got these tiddly little feet on ball joints. And he's got all of this mass up here. Yeah, that's one of the detractors about this guy. Can't stand very well. And these are very, very strange hands. I mean, I'm not even sure what is meant to be what, looking at it from a side angle. Like, does all of this constitute as a hand, or is it just that bit and that bit? Write in the comments what you think. Yeah, he's, in terms of playability, it's just kind of a bit meh, to be honest, especially when he doesn't want to stand. For gimmickry, this is one of the bugbears I have about this thing. On his left arm here, you could kind of see it activating earlier if you flick the switch. Well, not even if you flick the switch, if you barely tap his arm. Does the switch even want to work? There you go. It's, yeah, he's got a punching gimmick. This is meant to be like his chain whip that he displays in the film. Yeah, that's a thing he can do. The problem is, it's so delicate. As I said, the slightest touch will set it off. So good luck when you're trying to transform this guy, or basically do anything with him, because at any given notice you will set this thing off. It's a pain, and it's my least favourite thing about this figure, apart from the fact that it doesn't stand. And really, it's the fundamental reason why I have a bad relationship with this guy historically. It's nice that they tried to include it in, but still, it sucks. It really sucks. It's not good at all. Right, in terms of articulation, Barricade has absolutely nothing at the head. Absolutely nothing. The reason why he has nothing, well, he's got no joint there whatsoever for a start, but it's also to do with that black panel being resting on top of these hood pieces. Doesn't do anything. There is a ball joint at the top of the shoulder pads here, so you can have them rotating around any which way you desire. He has a ball joint at what is supposed to be the shoulder, so he has 360 degrees of swivel there. You can move for his arms only about that far, so that's a bit naff. And the elbows, he can achieve a 90-degree bend at them, so that's decent. But that's kind of it. He's got no other sort of rotation. The thumbs are on a pin joint, so they can go up and down, and the hands, or the fingers I suppose, can do the same, but it's more of a transformation thing, of course, and I've got his spike rolling around there. He's got nothing at the waist at all. In terms of the spread, only that, so could be better. He's got a decent kick going forward, and in terms of back, if you manoeuvre it around the backpack, sort of that. But we are cheating a little bit at an F angle. The knees, well, he has a ball joint there, doesn't he? So he has a good swivel at the hip, and he can go up and down if you so desire at the knees. He has loads of ratchet joints, so yeah, you can play about with that. Unless you want him to stand, in that case don't play about with it. And then at the feet he has an ankle ball joint, so you've got an interesting range of motion with that. So articulation in the lower body is interesting, but articulation in the upper body is kind of crap, to be honest. For a size comparison, here is Recon Barricade up against a version of Bumblebee that I've got. This is the Revenge of the Fallen not Human Alliance, but NEST Global Alliance version, but he is essentially the same as the first movie Bumblebee. Yeah, they're the same height in terms of head scale and all of that. Bumblebee is far superior of a figure. He's a billion times better than Barricade, unfortunately. But there you go. That's two from essentially the same line. Here is Barricade next to Revenge of the Fallen Sideways, who we all mistook for Barricade back in the day, and who might have temporarily been Barricade during the production of that film. Yeah, I mean, Sideways is from the successor line. Not much difference in terms of scale between these two deluxes. I just thought I might compare these two because they are usually lumped into sometimes being misidentified as the same guy. And they've got very similar profiles as it happens, especially the way that I've got Sideways' kibble. And then we have Studio Series Grindor, who, as per usual, is a representation of both a Voyager class and a modern leader class. And yeah, as you would expect, he's bigger. In terms of the scale of the characters, in terms of the movie, I don't know how accurate this is. Probably Barricade should realistically come up to about there. But yeah, you can get an idea as to how the size classes have shifted over the years. So there we go. That is our review of the first movie, Recon Barricade Repaint. Yeah, it's a figure that's not aged particularly well, unfortunately. In terms of like the paint and everything, he's got really good colours about him, and to a degree, I kind of do like this colour scheme a lot better than the black standard version of Barricade that's about. Whether this paint scheme at all inspired his redeco in The Last Night to primarily be blue, I don't know. I would like to think so, because it's good. It does look good on him. But in terms of a figure, yeah, it's a bit rubbish. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a little bit rubbish. I have a little bit of a soft spot for him because, of course, I've had him for many years and I've not had any other Barricades to ever experience. So a little bit of a soft spot for me, but I can't in good conscience recommend him because it's just a bit naff, in all honesty. There's 1,000 better figures out there on the market. He's not aged well. His arm articulation and all of that is very cumbersome. His whip gimmick, or whatever you want to call it, keeps going off without the slightest touch. It's no head movement on him. He is a bugger to stand up as well. There's better stuff out there. The Dark of the Moon Deluxe is probably a better shout than this one. The Last Night Deluxe is probably a better shout than this one. There's a movie masterpiece out there. If you've got the money for it, by all means, that's probably the best of the best. So yeah, there's better guys. Skip the first movie Barricade in probably all of his iterations, if I were you. And there we go. Thank you everybody so much for stopping by and checking out this figure and this video with me. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share it around to help out the channel. And until the next time, I might be able to do my outro better. See you all later.